When we are maximizing client value, I've got 6 different things I want to talk through today, and I'm going to kind of walk through them item by item. And every one of them probably approaches this from a different angle. So some of them you may have heard before, some of them you may have heard with me before, some of them may be entirely new and unfamiliar, or just maybe a different twist on what you've experienced in the past. So the first one is, in all reality, like the first domino in this process is you have to give people, like, you need to deliver some results in advance, because we need to get people to become clients before we can maximize that value. And I didn't want to overlook this part. I didn't want you to just think, oh, wait a minute, I've had this client for a year and Pat's just going to talk about how do you make more money with this person you've had for a year. There's so much more to it than that, right? Like, if you want to get the maximum value exchange for the client relationships you have to get them in your ecosystem. In my mind, there's like only so much you can do for somebody when they're just a prospect. As much as we love doing what we do in the Fitness Business Owners Group, obviously there's not as much understanding of your business as there might be if you were an active client with us. I wouldn't know all your unique details, all your unique kind of challenges, goals, all these things that happen in your world that would help me provide more personalized, prescriptive information. So in my mind, the best thing we can do is demonstrate that we can get somebody a result, right? We've got to be able to get somebody a result. And when you're in a crowded market, or you're trying to get your traction, or if you're trying to nudge somebody into action, I love things like trials and test drives and love it or leave it offers, or even having escalating fee stuff once people have actually started to see a benefit. I know our buddy Doug Sperling does some, lose your first 5 pounds, and there's some like low barrier to entry way to get in, right? Just so somebody can get to feel that it's for them. All too often in our industry, we talk about, well, I want people to make a commitment, but we haven't made a commitment to them, right? It's all one-sided. Please commit to me, but I'm not invested in you. Please commit to me. I've not demonstrated that I'm a good fit yet. So that's the first part. Give them results in advance. Help them get on the path to that dream come true result through an experience they enjoy. If you get that buy-in, it's much easier to maximize that relationship than, if we're just thinking about how do I extract as much money as possible from this situation, right? So always think about, like, how do I get people in? How do I support people? How do I help people move towards their goals? Focus on that. The rest of this kind of starts to take it a much easier, comfortable path for you, because you know how to help people, right? So if you get people in the door, find ways to lower the friction, lower their perceived risk, and get them started, much easier to ascend up the ladder from there. So that's idea number 1. Idea number 2 is understanding relationship-based revenue. So we're not a retail business, right? The thing that we're selling is not as easily quantified. I mean, if I go buy a new car, I know exactly what I'm getting, right? Like, I can look up all the details online, the manufacturer specs. I could probably buy it from various places, and it's the same car because it comes from, they're the dealer, but it comes from a different manufacturer. So that's really specific. If I go to a restaurant, I'm getting this thing that's on the menu. There's a lot of clarity. We're selling something that isn't really as much about immediate gratification. It's about a relationship in this belief that you and the things that you provide are going to allow me to go from where I am to where I want to be. And if you think about, okay, every relationship is tremendously valuable, right? You're going to be so much better off, because if we want to maximize the value of relationships, even the quote unquote high ticket people, they they're probably missing out on potentially half, 75, even 90% of the potential value in that relationship because they don't think long term. In fact, most people that I know that are quote unquote high ticket people have only been in the industry a couple of years. And, I've had some clients since 2007, 2008. Obviously, the relationship value of somebody who stays with you for 15 years, even if that person's investing just a couple $1,000s a month with you, right? A couple $1,000s. I mean, it sounds like a lot when you say it that way, but it's less than $200 a month, right? I mean, less than $200 a month, but over 15 years, I mean, that's 30 grand. That's a lot of money. That's a whole lot of money. And I am certain that if we think in terms of maximizing the relationship, we're going to be so much better off. Now, one of the things that I think really helped shape my thinking on this is I grew up in a small town where, man, your relationship kind of precedes you. If you were somebody who didn't do things right by your customers, the news traveled pretty fast. We all knew the people who were kind of maybe shady dealers in whatever businesses they had that you kind of tried to avoid. There wasn't this potential flood of new prospects coming in. So you had to protect your reputation if you were going to have any sort of longevity. And because of that, I've been able to parlay that into now 47 different recurring revenue programs, right? 47 different recurring revenue or subscription-based programs over the years. And that, that's kind of been it throughout is how do I earn somebody's continued business? How do I create a relationship where they feel like what they're receiving is worth more than what they're investing? And that doesn't mean in a purely transactional sense. It means, is this person feeling cared for? Do they feel like I am invested in them as an individual? If you want to maximize value, if all you're thinking of things is as a transaction, it's going to be short because there's always somebody else who can provide the same type of thing cheaper, at least the same type of thing through the eyes of the consumer, or something that seems shinier and newer and better and at a similar price, right? So you have to create value through building a relationship if you want to maximize value. And I get it. The first thing people say is, well, how do I upsell? How do I cross sell? All those things we'll talk about a little bit later, and they're truly valuable, but you got to have somebody to upsell and cross sell, right? You got to actually have somebody that comes in and sticks around. And if you get somebody that comes in and sticks around, now we can understand what problems they have to solve, what goals they're trying to achieve even better, where the bottlenecks are, where the friction is, so we can find other ways to better solve those problems. So having that kind of long-term mentality, having that relationship-based focus, understand too that if you've invested in a relationship with somebody, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be unbroken, right? And what I mean by that is sometimes people think about this whole, hey, I'm going to create a subscription with somebody and my lifetime subscription term average is 24 months. And so that's what this person is, quote unquote, worth to my business. Well, I've had plenty of people that have worked with me in some way, shape, or form, beginning all the way back. The earliest ones were probably 2006 that are still in the ecosystem now. Almost without exception, there's been a break in their membership at some point. One of those breaks was initiated by me because I sold a business that they were part of, and started a new business. And so there might have been a lapse or a gap, right? And, I mean, it's just kind of common sense in my mind. I'd rather have somebody for 14 out of 16 years than for 24 consecutive months. And if you build a relationship that's so much more valuable to you than going out there and saying, you know what, this person's leaving. I'm going to leave some scorched earth behind me when I'm mad at them for leaving. I'm taking it personally instead of understanding that people's lives change, their circumstances change. They have the ability to come and go as long as you make them feel welcome. All right, Morgan, I see a hand up. What do you have going on here?
So that leads into a great question of it is always one of those where at some point our clients will leave us. So how do we maximize that time to get them to come back and to also kind of encourage them like you did where like, yes, that business split, but maybe it's like, we're not moving forward right now. We need you to take a break, but I want you to come back. Like, how do you navigate that in the best interest of them? Do you get what I'm asking?
Um, the first thing that I think of is once I'm somebody's coach, and unless there's some sort of parting of the ways that dictates that I'm no longer going to ever be their coach, right? Like, I'm always their coach, like whether they're paying me actively or not. I'm saying this like, here's the irony of this, right? One of my former baseball players messaged me 5 minutes ago. He played for me in 1998, 1999. So I mean, once they're under your care, if you say, look, hey, I'm always here for you. Here's an easy kind of tactical way that somebody could approach this. Like, let's say somebody says, hey, man, life's really busy right now. I don't have time to be consistent with this. So, you know what? Hey, I totally understand. Here, why don't I give you a couple of workouts that you can do and show you what you can do on your own, if you're at home, whatever, kind of anytime, anywhere stuff, so you can still stay on track no matter how busy your schedule gets. And so now I'm giving you a parting gift, basically, because you are under my care. You are my client. I'm your coach forever. And I want you to believe that, because what's going to happen is even if they go try something else, then when something doesn't go awesome, they're going to say, well, wait a minute, these people don't treat me like Morgan did. They don't care about me like Morgan did. And then when you reach back out a couple months later, or next quarter or whatever else, and say, hey, I know things got busy. I just want to check in and see how you're doing. Not, hey, I've got this great reactivation campaign that is going and you can save this amount of money. You didn't say you left because of money.
Right.
You said you left because you were busy. So I care about you. I want to see how things are going. So relationship-based revenue means that if somebody comes into my ecosystem, and we know how hard we work to get leads and how hard we work to get clients, it is foolish, if not stupid, to just take all that effort and work that we did and say, you know what, I'm just going to blow this up, forget it. There's still people that, you know what, maybe their life circumstances changed. Maybe they moved. Maybe they got a different job. Maybe they're having trouble at home. Maybe their kids' schedule for their activities, their club soccer team, their travel baseball team got so busy they can't be consistent. Whatever. Maybe their spouse lost their job, and so they're a one-income household right now. So no problem. I'm here for you. If I told you I cared about you before, would I stop caring the minute that the minute that you need to take a break? Not the good plan, right? So relationship-based revenue, that's where it's at. Like, if you think about this in relationships and say, hey, once a client, always a client. I mean, I had somebody come out and do a half-day coaching session. I guess it was the 2nd of April, 3rd of April, something like that. he came to the first live event that I ever hosted in New Jersey. And I could tell you where I sat and visited with him at that event, right? And we've been through it together any number of years, and he needed some help, so he came out. And that's the way that I would want my business to be. I want to be able to say, okay, I've got these relationships with people, and yeah, there's a value exchange, right? I mean, I need to be able to operate a healthy, profitable business, and I'm going to deliver something to this person over time that's going to help them do the same. But it doesn't mean that things always are linear, because nothing else in their life is. So we just have to be okay to kind of ride that wave and stay with them throughout. All right. So idea 3, and this very much dovetails in with the last one. You better love your people. And man, I know I'm talking about maximizing value, and I'm talking about all these corny things like relationships and loving your people. But if you're going to spend 200 plus days a year with somebody, they better be the right somebody, right? We are a different animal in our industry because, if I like my dentist, but if I go to my dentist, I see him like 2 or 3 times a year, right? If I go get a haircut, even with as short a hair as I have, I'm not seeing somebody 3 times a week. So you better enjoy them. And all too often, people overlook finding the right people and solving the right problems for them and building the right culture for chasing the shiny object. Hey, I saw this ad for this person saying they can get me 50 new people in my door this month. Man, you could do all sorts of stuff to drive people through the door, right? Doesn't mean they're the right people. I've seen it over and over and over. Actually, the person who came to visit early April, they had this wonderful semi-private training business and had this great culture where everybody's really supportive of one another. And then they plugged in a lose 20 pounds in 6-week challenge, killed the culture. The current clients didn't want any part of the new group training, fat loss based business that was fake free, that was, hey, pay the deposit. Oh, you didn't know there was going to be a deposit? And then there was a little bit of a mutiny, and it just, they were just at odds. They were entirely different clientele. And the first clientele was the ones that they felt like, man, these are our people. This is the type of work we love doing. The second group was very transactional. It was like, I'm here for 6 weeks at most so I can lose some weight and I'm done. And so you better find the right people instead of chasing the right opportunity. So how do I choose the right person? Well, if I could only get paid for the results I deliver and the experience that I provide, that's it. If I'm only getting paid if somebody says, I got what I wanted from this and I enjoyed doing it, who would I help and what would I help them do? And that helps you focus, right? And I will tell you my other little litmus test, and you guys may think about this totally different, but if I wouldn't invite you into my home for Morgan's been here. Like when we do coaching, events, the dinner and everything, it's at my house when we do the ones in Louisville. When we go out of town, we cater a dinner and have everybody hang out wherever we're at. Like, if I wouldn't want to spend time with you in that environment, then it's probably not a great fit. There is no, hey, anybody with a pulse and a credit card is my client. It's, hey, I want to be in here because I'm rooting for you. I'm thinking about you when you're not in front of me. I'm here to help you solve the things that are challenging you and helping you reach your goals. And, Holly's in the business she's always had a business where we would kind of share stories or whatever else. But now that she's working with our business owners too, we spend a disproportionate amount of time talking about clients and what's going on with them and what they need and everything else. And I think if you're going to build a business, it has to be about people that you really care about helping. So again, you want to talk about maximizing value, you got to have the right people. You got to love the people that you work with. Now, the fourth concept, the fourth idea about maximizing value is what I call earned ascension. Now, when I got into the business side of things, ascension, there was this gentleman, and he's still around, and I learned a ton from him, even though we probably look at things coming from very different directions. A gentleman named Dan Kennedy. And he had this ascension model that was basically like you start here, and then throughout this kind of level that you're at, they're just going to tell you all the good stuff's at the next level. And then when you get to that level, to say all the good stuff's at the next level. And it's just this kind of carrot to pull you along. And in my mind, the goal is always to deliver more value at whatever stage they're at than they expect, so they're inspired or motivated to go to the next level. And I will admit, it served me very well over the years. And I don't know that the other approach wouldn't have served me as well. But it's really cool when somebody says, man, I'm really excited to be able to jump to the next thing because this has been so good for me. So I can only imagine how good that one's going to be. So, I mean, I just did a call with a client who's in our boardroom group, which is kind of the most advanced business owners on average that we work with. That's kind of the top coaching program, right? And he had been in our Ideal Business Accelerator group prior to that. And he was like, man, this is going to be our fourth consecutive month of our best revenue yet. And he already had good revenue before that. He was already doing fine. But when he's telling me that, he didn't need to jump to that other group to do well. He just saw, hey, I'm getting great value here and I want to keep leveling up. So I'm going to go to this next spot. Not, oh, I'm struggling, but all the answers at this next place. And I think that's an important thing. And then if we offer upgraded opportunities that people aspire to, we're going to be better off. And make no mistake, 10 to 30% of the people that you work with, depending on the kind of offerings you have, are going to want to ascend to another level of relationship. If you offer group programs and one-on-one, 10 to 30% of them are going to say, man, you know what? For the next few months, I'd like to do one-on-one. I really want some specialized attention. Or if you have a personalized accountability program or something like that, they're going to say, you know, I could really use a little extra nudge. We're going to be going to Hawaii in July, and I want to be kind of locked in and focused until then. So earned ascension in my mind is doing great work where you're at, but having opportunities for people to get a different level or type or specialty sort of support. And then the fifth idea is what I call value-based pricing. And see, and I'm some of you folks who joined the Facebook group and don't know me very well yet, I'm going to say things probably sometimes that you're going to go like, wait a minute. First of all, I would tell you that anybody who uses the phrase high ticket, I'm going to say minimum 95% of them, that's like code for low value. Because you would never hear Rolls-Royce say, we sell high ticket, right? They talk about how expensive the cars are because of the value, not just brag about how expensive their thing is, right? People justify the value by delivering something unique, something great. Premium pricing is fine, but earning premium pricing and not just saying, well, this will be expensive is the way to go. My experience with doing this for 20 odd years at this point is if I lead with a phrase like high ticket, almost always, I don't care about you because you are just a ticket. You are just a transaction. I am closing the sale. I am closing my interest in this transaction. That's basically what this boils down to. Not, I am starting a new relationship where there's a value exchange. I am going to give you X, hopefully 10X what you're paying. And that's a mentality shift that, again, you could be the most expensive person in your market by a multiple of 3, as long as you're also the most valuable person in your market, right? Totally fine. Like I would encourage people I would encourage most people in our industry to charge more than they charge. So this isn't about being a cheaper provider. This is about understanding that people don't pursue cheap. They want to feel like they got good value for what they spent. And most people that use the phrase high ticket imply that the price is the only relevant piece of the transaction. And I mean, all you have to do, if you want to learn more about this, go into any Facebook group that talks about the phrase high ticket, like that's part of the title or whatever else. See how they talk about clients, see how they talk about customers. And once you learn that, you can't unsee it, right? You understand that, wait a minute, this person's just a walking, talking credit card to me. So when you think about how can I be high value and then price it accordingly, how can I do something better? How can I be more specific for somebody? How can I give them great value and then price accordingly? You got to be profitable as a business owner. So again, I am all for you charging more, but making sure that you've earned every penny of it. And then think about, like, what do I need to do to earn what I want to earn? Like, what do I need to deliver for this person to feel like this is a no-brainer? And I am definitely not somebody who drives a Rolls Royce, but I got a couple friends who have them. And I've got friends who've got private planes and that sort of stuff. I've never heard them haggle on price because they believe that they have a premium offering. And if you want to sell to people that pay a premium, you just have to deliver something that people believe is a premium. And if you're not doing it now, I mentioned most people in our industry are underpriced. You probably need to raise your rates every 12 to 24 months. If you want to maximize the value of your clients, I mean, the cost of everything else goes up. All you have to do is do a little bit of an internet search and see what the cost of certain things were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and how they've escalated. But so many people in our industry are stuck at charging what they charged 5 years ago. Raise your rates. Charge what you're worth, but make sure that you're earning what you charge. And then if we're thinking about what do I cross-sell or what do I upsell, the first thing I would tell you is more isn't necessarily better. People already have full lives. They got plenty of things on their plate. Adding a million new apps and a bunch of different things to their schedule isn't helping them. And in fact, in many cases, when we can pull some things away, they like that better. I mean, if we think about, well, hey, you could do it yourself, or we can provide you a concierge service. The concierge service is more expensive. It should be, right? I'm doing some of the work for you. You don't have to sift through this stuff. You don't have to vet things. I'm just going to take care of you. Now, you may be pulling from the same pool of potential things. In fact, in our sprint program, that's basically kind of what it is. We teach people what the playbook is in all of our coaching programs. We give you the roadmap. It's just in the sprint program, there's a concierge service where it's all one-on-one, and we'll write some of the stuff for you instead of teach you how to write it or give you a template to write it. We'll do more of the heavy lifting for you. So we're actually pulling some of the burden away from you, and that's why it's more expensive. So if we're thinking about upselling, more isn't necessarily better. How do we give them what they need? Like if somebody says, I've come to you because I want to lose weight. Well, me taking you through a training program that has you coming to the gym 3 days a week, that may solve one of the pieces of this weight loss puzzle, but what about the other pieces? What about nutrition? What about recovery? What about supplementation? What about support when it comes to physical activity for the rest of your days or the rest of your hours during the week? What about accountability to stay on track, to make better decisions? What about, coming and crafting a lifestyle plan for you that gives you a roadmap on how to navigate your day for the other 165 hours you're not here? All of those things are valuable. And sometimes it's just more personalized attention. Sometimes it's upgrading for more of the same. Like, hey, I'm training 2 days a week. I want to kind of level things up a little bit for the next few weeks. Maybe it's 3 times a week now. But when we're choosing what we want more of or what we want to do differently to as a consumer, basically, I want you to solve my problems or make my life easier. That's it. Like if you can do that so I can get to my goals faster, then I would pay more. And most of the people in your ecosystem, most of your clients, that's what they would pay more for as well. That's why people pay for meal delivery services. That's why people pay for DoorDash. That's why they are more than happy to go have somebody else make their smoothie and go buy it at some other place rather than making it themselves. It's a lower the friction thing, right? So when we're thinking about upsells, that's what a lot of it is, right? I mean, a third training session a week when they're already buying 2, well, if they come to 2, they probably know what to do and they could do that on their own. But still having that supported and motivated, that's a big deal. So if you want to maximize the value, those are the 6 tips I have for you, the 6 ideas. I've got all sorts of fun notes on this stuff. Happy to share it with you. Just put value in the chat, value in the comments. You're watching the replay, value under that, and we'll get those notes over to you. Morgan, do we have any questions today?
Question/comment. So when I think of like maximizing client value, something else that popped in my head is like celebrating their birthday, sending them something out of the ordinary to really show that, or, oh, my son's got a baseball game, checking in on how that baseball game went. Is that something that you would consider maximizing the client value because of the relationship you're buying into? Or is that kind of a different category that you could talk probably hours on?
I think of it very much under that number 3, the love your people thing, is care about your people and care about them outside of your structured training environment as much as you care about them inside of it. And that means checking up on them when things aren't going well. That means wishing them a happy birthday, but it also means wishing, when they're posting something on Facebook that it's their kid's 2nd birthday. We had one of our baseball moms post this today. The youngest son, Evan, it's his 2nd birthday today. And then we got another one that their 2nd birthday is 2 weeks from Friday. And it's like wishing them a happy birthday, saying, look, we care about you and this is your life. We want to continue to be a part of your life. We want to be a part of your life as long as you'll have us. But this is your whole life. Fitness is not your whole life. And we want to be supportive of all of it. So I think that birthday cards, notes, thoughtful gifts, all that sort of stuff is important, but also recognizing that these people have full lives. And the more you're supportive of that, the more you separate yourself from just being a transactional workout host.
Awesome. And though when you were saying high ticket, what was coming to mind for me was just being a number. And I know at least us in here and in Launch and all the programs, we don't want you to feel like just a number. We want to treat you as an actual person. And I think that's something that really makes you stand out compared to a lot of other coaches, is the actually treating you as a person in your life. So it's really good to just remember that sometimes we can get in the thought of money, money, money and look at people as numbers because we see all the fancy stuff. But when we build in the relationships, then we can maximize our clients and also maximize leads coming in as well.
And I get it, right? Because there are plenty of people out there that say managed by the numbers, and plenty of business experts that see the clients as transactional things or whatever else. I was very lucky that my first full career was as a college baseball coach, which transactionally, the player's performance on the field was what would have dictated our wins and losses. But I learned very quickly that the player's performance on the field was dictated by whether or not they had a final that day, or they broke up with their girlfriend, or if there was stress at home and their parents were going through a divorce, or, if, they were just people that this was part of what they did. This wasn't the only thing that they did. This didn't exist in a vacuum. And so I got to kind of carry that forward in my entrepreneurial life. And I think that I just understood that early on, and nobody could convince me that that wasn't the case, right? That whoever came in and filled the floor in a training session was interchangeable. No, for them, this was a big thing for them that day, and I needed to make them, I needed to treat them accordingly. And I wonder how many people in the business coaching landscape actually know anything about their people, but it's not just them, right? So I remember years ago, Holly and I went to this event in Florida. I don't remember, the Transformation Summit or something like that. And Holly was speaking at it, and it was a bunch of high profile fitness internet experts that all had these popular ebooks or courses or whatever else that were consumer based things. And Holly knew her people kind of inside and out, knew everything about them. They were part of her community. And, we walk in, there's a little bit of a social at the beginning. We go talk to a couple of other people that we know that are presenters, and they were floored by the fact that all these people in this room were not like fitness models, that they looked like real people. And they had no understanding of their audience, their target market at all. They only really cared about, well, would this copy convert to convince somebody of something, not, hey, who is actually the person reading this? And they were, I think they were a little bit disappointed in, wait a minute, I don't have a bunch of people that I'm going to see on South Beach, on a commercial promoting them as a vacation destination as my clients. They're, people that are 30 pounds overweight, and they've got gray hair, and they're this and that. And, they didn't really care. And I will tell you, the biggest thing that has probably helped me in business, and this doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of people who do way better than I do in business, because there are. But the biggest thing that has helped me in business is actually investing in people, whether it be prospective clients that eventually become clients, or even dating back to my time as a college coach, recruiting or that sort of thing, to bringing people onto my team. It's just been a people-based thing. And the more commoditized any market gets, right? And each training market, at least in North America, is getting to be more and more saturated with various fitness competitors, with the rush of franchises that are available and everything else. It becomes a little bit more of a commodity. And so you have to have something to stand out. Well, the cool thing about being people focused is that's not part of anybody else's playbook. There's no franchise that's part of their playbook in the fitness industry. It's, how do we deliver more workouts? How do we create more leverage so we can have a smaller staff? How do we automate things so there's less overhead? There are all sorts of things they're concerned about, and people are way down the list. So if you want to stand out, being people focused is definitely a competitive advantage.
Awesome. That's all I have. We do have a comment in here. It says, I struggle with thinking that I'm not offering enough value. I was charging $99 a month, and I now charge $175 for monthly group membership. I offer 2 live virtual fitness classes per week, 1 group coaching accountability session per week. I also give access to daily workouts on my app, meal plans, nutrition tips, habit coaching, and more. Any tips on providing more value? So what I'm hearing is she doesn't feel like she's offering enough value for her costs, for her price.
So the first thing that I would say is anytime I hear the word app, I immediately think like every app I download on my phone, the most I probably pay for it annually is like $75, right? And I'm talking like meditation apps or whatever else. So I never an app in my mind is nothing more than a storefront, right? Like it is your virtual storefront. What happens inside that storefront am I just a retail business where I'm providing these things that you can access, these workouts or this meal planning software or whatever else? Or am I connecting with you and solving your problems and helping you achieve your goals? And so if you want to make sure that you are providing more value, it comes down to what does this person come to me for? Why do they believe that they're not there yet? What do they think needs to happen or change to get there? And am I adequately solving those things? And if I am, then it's probably if they bought it, then it's probably valuable enough. But if I'm not solving those things, then they're going to say, well, I'm going to go find somebody else who will solve them because this isn't working for me. And most people that go online, that's the challenge is most people that are in the fitness industry that kind of get burned out with some of the offline stuff that go online or whatever else, they automate the personal out of a lot of things and think about this how can I set this up so I'm kind of insulating myself from the client instead of how do I do this in a way that allows me less friction to connect with the client. Now the conversation can be asynchronous, right? It doesn't have to be on the phone real time. Cool apps like Voxer and plenty of apps that have training platforms allow you to message somebody. They can listen to it when they want. You don't have to be, in this synchronous conversation. But if you think of it that way, man, you're going to be so much better off because you're going to be able to say, okay, online training allows me the flexibility to do things where I want. It allows me a lot more opportunity to do much of this when I want, but I'm still responsible for delivering a result. And so if the person's not using it, then I got to figure out how to get them to use it. If the person's getting stuck on things, then I got to get them unstuck. And as long as you're doing that, then it's probably plenty of value.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Fitness Business School. Before you go, I have a quick announcement. One of the things that we've been doing with our current clients is taking them through this ideal business diagnostic. And really what it is this checklist that allows you to pinpoint exactly what your business needs next so you can keep improving, keep growing, and build a business that you love to own. One that pays you well, one that allows you to have the impact you want to have, and one that allows you to have a lifestyle that you truly enjoy. In this diagnostic, we walk through everything and we do an evaluation and can instantly pinpoint what you need to do next to build that business that you want. I'm going to extend this opportunity to get on with either me or my team and take you through this evaluation and fix your business's most vital needs fast. So if we take you through this, you're going to be able to make those vital changes that you need to finally have what I call your ideal business. If you'd be interested in going through this entirely free, risk-free diagnostic with us and learn what you already have in place, what you're doing well, and where your greatest opportunities for rapid improvement are, just shoot me an email with diagnostic in the subject line to pat@patrigsby.com. Again, an email to pat@patrigsby.com with diagnostic in the subject line will get you scheduled and take you through this evaluation to help you build the business you want.